Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into the weeds on a real unsung hero of the production world. We're looking at the Datavideo DDC-2512. It's a DC to 12 VDC 2.5 amp converter.
Right, a little black box that does a huge job.
Exactly. And our mission is to figure out why this specific piece of gear is so critical for, keeping your cameras and AV equipment running smoothly. It's that invisible bridge between messy power and stable current.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this. At its heart, it just converts a variable DC input into one single, stable 12-volt output. Simple as that.
Seems simple.
Well, when I first looked at the spec sheet, the thing that really jumped out was the input range. It takes anything from 9 volts all the way up to 30 volts. That seems huge. Why does that matter so much when you're out in the field?
It's all about not having to think. It means the converter is, completely battery agnostic.
Yeah.
You can be running it off a big 24-volt block or a nearly dead 14.4V V-mount battery. It just doesn't care.
So even if you have voltage drop over a long cable, it can still manage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the real magic is the stabilization. No matter how chaotic that input is, the output is a perfectly regulated 12 volts DC.
And it's tight, right? The taller.
Oh, incredibly tight. We're talking plus or minus just 3%. That tiny window is what protects your gear from noise, from artifacts, from actual damage. It just reliably pushes out 2.5 amps, giving you that full 30 watts of power.
Okay, but let's talk about the physics for a second. The spec says it has a typical efficiency of up to 85%.
Right.
So where does the other 15% go? That's got to be generating some serious heat in a small box, which can't be good for keeping that tolerance so tight.
Yeah, that's a really sharp observation. And that 15% loss, it is shed as heat. And that leads directly to probably the biggest limitation of this device,
Which is?
the working temperature. It's got a really narrow range, 32 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, so 0 to 40 Celsius. You absolutely cannot let this thing overheat.
So that's why it's not weatherproof. It has to be used indoors.
It has to be, or at least in a very controlled environment. It's a trade-off for that stability.
That feels a little counterintuitive for field gear, but it makes more sense when you see how it's designed to be integrated. It's meant to work with the Datavideo PD3 and the CV23 cable.
It's all about fitting into an existing professional ecosystem. It uses standard 4-pin XLR connectors for both the input and the output.
The broadcast standard.
The broadcast standard. Pin 1 is ground. Pin 4 is your DC power. You just plug it in with cables you already have. No messing around with weird adapters.
And what about, if something goes wrong? Say a camera draws too much power.
It's got you covered. There's built-in overload protection. If the power draw spikes, say, to between 105% and 150% of what it's rated for, the unit just safely shuts off.
And then you have to reset it?
Nope.
Nope.
And this is the crucial part for live production. It automatically recovers as soon as the fault is gone. It's a lifesaver. It protects the gear, protects itself, and gets you back up and running instantly.
So what does this all mean? When you boil it all down, the DDC-2512 is basically this rock-solid power stabilizer that lets you use almost any DC source you can find with your professional gear.
Yeah, it guarantees that clean, standard 12-volt power no matter how bad the input is.
A universal translator for power.
A good way to put it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, given that 15% of the power becomes heat, and that box has to stay under 102 degrees Fahrenheit, it raises a really important question for you to think about. When you're setting up for a long shoot on a hot day, are you placing this converter somewhere cool to protect the converter itself, or are you doing it to protect your expensive camera from the converter's own thermal limits? The environment itself becomes part of the spec you have to manage.